everybody tonight to the March 3rd Development Review Board for the City of Montpelier. And first we will have Meredith go over the remote procedures, and then we will continue into our evening.
Okay, so let me share my screen here. There we go. All right. So, for anyone viewing tonight's Development Review Board meeting via Orca Media, you can participate in the discussion through the Zoom platform through either video or telephone access options. For the full video experience, please type this link into your web browser. Alternatively, you can dial in using this phone number, and then when prompted, put in this meeting ID. Either one of those avenues, I'll get a notification that you want to get into the meeting and be able to let you in. If anyone is trying to get into the meeting and is having problems, please email me at mcrandall@montpelier-vt.org. I'm just doing a quick little look-see here. Did we lose Rob?
I can't tell.
We may have lost Rob. I'll check when we're done. For everyone attending via Zoom, turning your video on is optional. We do ask that you please keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. This will help reduce background noise. And note that the Zoom chat function should only be used for troubleshooting or logistics questions. Any questions or comments about an item on the agenda should be made by raising your hand and waiting until you get called on by the chair to speak. In the event the public is unable to access tonight's meeting, and I would get notification of that through my email, the meeting will need to be continued to a time and place certain. I will now hand the meeting back over to the chair for member introductions, and Rob just got back on.
Okay. Starting out on the right, can you introduce yourself?
Kevin O'Connell, member.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Sharon Allen, chair. Joe?
Joe Kiernan, board member.
Rob? Rob?
Do you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
You're looking very relaxed.
He's snoring.
There we go.
All right.
Okay. Can you find your mute button?
So you
No,
are still on mute.
You're
Just
still
so you know.
muted.
Yeah.
If you can try it on the Zoom, it looks like you're on a different tech than normal.
There we go. Found it.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Catherine Burgess, board member.
Great. We do have a quorum, so we will proceed. The first thing is the agenda. I'm sorry? Okay.
Second.
Okay. Discussion, do we want to add something to it, Meredith? Do we want to,
I mean, James can be under other business without us necessarily
Okay.
having to add it.
Okay.
It's an opportunity for other people who are present to bring something new, as well as the little things I throw in.
okay. All those in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
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 Unanimous, thank you. We are now, this is a sketch plan review for 491 Elm Street, and that is presented by James Moore, who's the owner and applicant. You want to come up to the table?
Yeah, feel free to move the microphone to wherever you need it. We do want you to try and speak into that clearly so that the minutes, well, one, so people remotely can hear you, but also that's how we have our minutes made.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
think you've got it in a good spot.
So, Meredith, why don't you give us just a very brief outline of what this is, and then we'll let Jim's go into the application.
So as you said, it's a sketch plan review, two parcel subdivision. So as the board members are used to at this point, sketch plan review is an opportunity to ask questions, see if there's additional information that needs to be come up, or any red flags that the board members may have, or if we hear anything from the public. I haven't heard anything from the public personally. I wasn't sure if there was going to be anybody here today or not, but there isn't right now. The only kind of complication that I see with this one is that much of the parcel is covered with river corridor. So that's going to limit what can happen on the parcel, but it doesn't make it undevelopable for your purposes.
It's yours. Tell us
Madam
about your
Chair.
application.
Great, thanks. If I could take a quick minute to introduce myself, is that right? And before I do that, I just want to say thank you to Meredith. Ms. Crandall has just been tremendously helpful on this project, but then also more generally as we've asked questions about different projects and whatnot, and to put this all together. So thank you. Been a fantastically helpful resource. And I say that because we have been, and we is myself and another Montpelier resident, Zach Hunter, who are starting a new business here in town, specifically focused on developing residential housing here in Montpelier. I've lived in Montpelier for about 20 years now. My wife and I have 3 kids in the school system. My wife is she's vice chair of the school board now and may have a new role in a day or two. And love the town, but feel that we're not on a sustainable path without some more housing and more families. So we've embarked on that. I'm new to this game, and so far I've been having a really good time. And this is the first time in front of you, but we do have a few other projects kind of in the pipeline that we hope to bring to you sooner rather than later, and one that I'd love to get just a quick read on during the other business portion of the agenda if you're willing at that point. This parcel is out on Elm Street. On your way to the pool, it's on the right-hand side. It's 2.3 acres, and my goal is to do this subdivision as quickly as reasonably possible so that I can get the house that is currently at the 491 Elm Street address back on the market, so we can get a family living in there, and we'll create another buildable lot through this subdivision process.
The current structure that's on the property?
It's in great shape. It is ready for somebody to move in.
Is somebody living there?
No, so I purchased the property.
From a Cody?
I think it is the last house in the Codyville.
Yeah.
But I think it had already left the Cody family, 1 or 2 owners prior. But I just purchased the property early mid-February.
So you mentioned that you had to get the subdivision in order for somebody to occupy that house? 'Cause-
Yeah, I can't sell the lot.
Oh, you can't sell it,
I
but
can't
somebody is there now?
No, it's
Oh,
unoccupied.
It's unoccupied.
It has been for 3 weeks,
Oh,
2
okay.
weeks.
You
Okay.
can't sell that. Your plan will be, well, that's not.
Yeah, we're not planning on, I'm not planning on keeping the house. I have another home in Montpelier where we live, and I want to get that existing
You want to
property
get it
back on the
into the
market.
market, I get it.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And I have been told by the lawyers I can't sell it until it's extremely clear what exactly we're selling, so that's
Yep.
why the subdivision has to
You're
go
here.
first.
All right. Excellent.
So, Ms. Crandall, how should I walk through the,
Ask Sharon, and I
Okay.
can share the
Ms. Chair.
screen
okay.
if you need something up on the screen, and so to point out
let's-
things for members who are remote.
Gotcha.
I think for me, for reviewing this, that certainly the biggest parts of the question are about the river corridor.
Yeah.
Yes.
The setbacks look like they're fine.
Yep.
That's all taken care of. I've looked at it and I feel like it's consistent with the neighborhood. I don't feel like there's really a whole lot else to worry about in this application except for that piece, which does look a little complicated. So maybe we could bring that map up and
Yeah.
take a look at it and show me what's going on there.
Yep. And I think
It's a colored,
that would be this
Yeah.
colored one from the packet.
separate.
Yep, it says, that's right. So one thing to note here, as you all probably are aware, most of Montpelier is downtown is in the river corridor, and
Yep.
development is allowed to happen there. North of Cumming Street, am I correct, that,
So, I'm just gonna flag it. Floodplain,
yep,
river corridor,
Different things.
different things.
Yes.
Most of the downtown is in the floodplain,
yep,
not the river corridor. And especially not Montpelier regulated river corridor.
Right.
River corridor is the thing above Cumming Street.
yes,
Okay.
thank you. So, on this diagram, you see the squiggly blue line.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
the orange is, sure. So you explain what the squiggly blue line is.
What is that squiggly blue line that I'm looking at?
I think the squiggly blue line is the elevation of the 100-year flood.
The orange here, the light orange,
Right.
is the NEPA or FEMA mapped.
Yes,
Of the
100-year flood.
line.
okay.
Is that
Yep.
correct?
I'm not quite sure what the blue line.
The blue line
is
is the
the-
elevation line that I think the
Okay.
contours, basically, that
Okay.
go along. You'll notice that it's similar to the NEPA mapped, but it's a little,
Yeah, so the FEMA mapping
Is
is
the
what we
orange?
have to regulate by.
okay,
But yes, that's the orange, not the stripes, but the orange is where our mapped 100-year floodplain line is. So
Gotcha.
anything under that has one kind of regulation. And then
so
this
it-
pale yellow that extends further
Which is where,
is the river corridor, which we
This.
only, our floodplain regulations only regulate that in a very small section of the city.
okay, so that's actually the light green. Is that the yellow you're talking about?
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
yellow to me.
It's
Okay,
green,
that's fine.
yellowish green.
Yeah. okay.
Yellowish green.
I was looking at it, I was going, where's the yellow? I didn't see
Sorry,
it.
it looks like pale because you have to be able to see through it.
Right, okay.
And that's the river corridor.
So, and the FEMA is the updated FEMA? Remember
So-
some
so-
of the older stuff that was old FEMA and new FEMA?
So this is the current maps that we regulate to, right?
Got it.
So this is since these maps have been the maps we've been regulating to that came out in I think 2013.
So they are old maps.
They're newer than most other places in Vermont.
Great.
We are supposed to be getting new maps. Those have not been issued yet, and I don't know what's happening right now.
They
But
are
this
current
is what
maps.
we've got.
Yeah,
This
that's
is our
what-
current maps.
Okay,
so,
I'm just wondering where the air of the caution, on the air on the cautious side is here, and if these are old maps.
No, this is 2013 is except for the things that came out are coming out that came out to some towns this summer. 2013 is the most recent mapping you have in the entire state. Montpelier got updated when a lot of other places didn't. Sorry,
so,
James.
no, thank you, and I'll try and rewind it then. The orange, to orient, the river is there in the hash marks, with the blue line in the top right.
okay,
Then you have the orange, which is the floodplain, and the yellowish green, which is the river corridor, which covers the existing house on that lot,
okay.
as you can see, and all of the houses there. But there is, as you read the contours, there's a significant drop in grade when you're where that house is versus down to the river. There's kind of like a plateau where the houses are. But all this application is to create a buildable envelope outside of the river corridor. So we're leaving the river corridor untouched by buildings and proposing that any of the development would comply with the zoning setbacks and would be outside of the river corridor.
How did it perform down there last summer and the summer before that?
The house stayed dry.
So, but
Yep.
you're,
The existing one.
The existing one,
further
which is
back.
in the river corridor, stayed dry.
but you're talking about the area that is the Atlas color green.
Yes. The where it looks like there's grass growing there.
Right.
Yep, that's the buildable area. So if you go to the next page in the thing,
Buildable area as certified by FEMA?
as certified by, so
By-
here's the thing, FEMA doesn't require the river corridor.
Right.
The state mapped the river corridors, and Montpelier elected to regulate the river corridor in this area because it's an area here and north on the North Branch is an area where the city said, theoretically, we might let the river move north of Cummings Street.
Right, we want to
Between the-
have the ability to mitigate if we need to
Right.
in this corridor.
Right. And so that makes sense for like the North Branch Nature Center areas and some other areas, right, where there aren't buildings.
Right.
But it's just they had to pick a stretch where we regulate the river corridor. And so where we do that, we don't allow much in the way of new buildings.
And that is not something that we regulate.
That's not something,
So
that's not something
important to
that the
remember.
board regulates. I issue, this is, the subdivision's gonna need a river hazard permit as well, which has this river, but where this comes into play is the board saying whether or not the new parcel is developable, right?
I get that. Now, did FEMA pick up the USGS program for maps?
USGS is still involved in the mapping.
So they're involved as a separate player?
Yeah, and that's like,
Yeah. I understand.
Another
yeah,
road.
that's a whole other thing. But it's there's a whole bunch of coordination with NOAA and USGS and FEMA on updating flood maps. But the when applications come in, we just deal with the maps as we have them. So maps are handed down to us for the floodplain. The state is the ones who map out the river corridor, and we've combined them in the river hazard regulations,
Okay, then.
because we have the option to regulate the river corridor. So that decision was made, I don't remember if river corridor was regulated
So-
before 2018, or if that just got added in 2018.
Looking back at the, what you have up here, okay, it looks like you're about to go to lots, which is not marked on the other
Yep.
one. So if we could do that, that would be great.
Wait, go back, which, I'm sorry, what do you want me to go to?
I was wondering where the lot lines were for this particular project, and I was looking at this one. And so we can look at that one if you want to tell me where it is on that one, or we can look at the next one if that's clearer.
So the existing lot lines are like here, where this red line is, and here,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
And then here is sort of the proposal with, I think you said this would be the new
Yep.
parcel line that would be created. This blue long one here, the
Yep.
415.99 feet long line here.
So the pink building on the bottom of the map is the existing
That's
house.
correct.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the pink building on the top is the neighbor.
Yep.
Yep.
Got it.
And then this area here is a buildable area outside of the river corridor
This is the map.
and with some room for setbacks, front and sides. So there's a, what? Oh, I've got to zoom in, sorry. It's about, 80 by 60 foot area where you could put a structure. Because, under our regulations, you could do parking in the back. You
Right.
could do some low value structures like just a,
Tool shed.
tool shed, or maybe even, a carport type thing that's not really high value.
Right.
Could maybe go in the back, under the city's regulations. And then just you'd have your house towards the front. So there's room. It wouldn't be anything huge.
Because that
but
lot,
there's
that
room.
lot is going to go the entire length of that. It's just a river corridor that you're running into
Right.
there with porches and porticos.
Yeah, pushes the buildable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
But the parcel still goes all the way to the
Right.
back.
Okay.
That's what the first.
And the limitation, could you put a pole barn on the river corridor?
I can't remember the exact value that's in there.
Or is it
Um,
monetary value
There's part of it is there's some monetary value to it on the limitations of what kind of structures can go back there, as well as the types of structure, like what they're used for. You can't have anything that's a habitation. You can't put a house back there. You can do, gardens and pathways and fences, and there's a bunch of things you can do. Just not something that somebody's going to be living in.
Okay, so, are there other questions that can come up right off the top of anybody's head? Because if not, I'd like to go through the application with staff review. It sounds like the parcel areas and the square feet on the subdivision attachment are different?
Yeah, I think that is just because I was working with the state tools to measure out the square footage versus the
Survey?
survey, because for sketch plan, we wanted to do this. We'll absolutely have those numbers dialed in for the final plat with the survey.
Great.
Getting out there with the snow that we had over the last few weeks has been tough.
Yeah, I bet. All right. I see a reminder in here, we just recently did another project similar to this, and I would remind everybody on the board that it is, once again, our only decision tonight is the subdivision, not what is going on the subdivision at a later point.
And it's no decision tonight.
Right.
Yeah, right, and no decision tonight, so it's super easy.
It's informational.
Yeah. Applicant to confirm whether new property line is 10 feet from the shed on parcel 1?
The intention is, we'd like the new lot to be as wide as possible
Okay.
without encroaching on the existing building and whatnot. So I just got out there and was able to get into that shed after I purchased it and realized that there's a cement foundation to that shed, so we're not moving it. So I don't know, I gotta get out there with the surveyor to figure out whether we're gonna be 16 feet off of the existing building, which would, give us more than that 10-foot setback required, or whether we'll do a little cut out,
So
like
that
where the shed is, in the survey line. I gotta figure that out with the surveyor, but
And is
the
this-
intention is to be approximately 10 to 16 feet from the existing building.
And the shed's not shown on any of these things?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So a potential new structure, and then the existing structure, they will have their own individual lots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It will be the older house, the Cody house. Cody House will be, compared to all the other houses on that strip, will be much closer to its immediate neighbor to the north. Like 10
I don't
feet.
think that's accurate.
That's the
No, I don't think that's right, because if you look at the building to the south, it's pretty close. And then if you look at all of the buildings across the street,
The
they're,
other side of the street is different, yeah.
But even south, I mean, like closer into town, that it tightens up quite a bit there. So it's not hugely different, I don't think. Okay, so the shed is gonna stay there. Yeah, know about the formally updated survey, sure you'll take that into account. Where is the vernal pool? I know, I was like, I was like, where? I don't.
hold on. I can show you on the screen.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. No. The vernal
Oh, it's on-
pool
it's
is
on the other
way-
side.
The vernal pool is way on the
Yeah,
other
it's
side
on
of
the
the
far
street.
Okay, it's on the other side. I was like,
Yep.
I was very
It's
confused.
just that
Thank you.
the setback is a 500-foot setback. So,
Good.
yeah, I can show you just a second.
Okay, thank you.
Oops, sorry, I didn't have my
Um,
microphone near me. So vernal pool,
and all of that would be encompassed by the river corridor, which wouldn't be in the developed area.
Yeah. so here's the parcel, here's 491 Elm Street that we're talking about.
Yeah.
This ring here is the 500-foot setback from this vernal pool that's all the way on the other side of Cummings Street.
Wow.
So yes, it shows up as a natural resources area on this parcel. But I mean, it's nothing. Very, very little could happen back here.
Correct.
And I don't think you're going to be interrupting amphibian stuff anyway. The subdivision's not going to cause a problem for that. But I had to flag it.
Yeah, okay. I don't know, where is that vernal pool? Certainly, vehicle access and circulation, I mean, this is all, to me, is all just very standard to the neighborhood, and we're not changing anything dramatic, or very much at all, just adding a single house. Neither the fire chief nor the police chief have, any concerns, that's great. I don't know if we've already gone on the utilities. The utilities are all above ground there, right? Aren't they? Out on Elm
Yeah.
Street, yeah. I presume that's gonna be fine. It's public utilities. Obviously, new monuments and markers to be shown on the final plat. That's pretty standard, I think. Just checking on the natural resource protection is where I've kind of gotten to, and I feel like with the various lines on our maps, we're pretty safe with our natural resources. That we've got FEMA and we've got the river corridor, and we're all outside of that for the buildable
Yeah.
lot. So that works. Did other people have other questions? Rob, did you have anything you wanted to ask, or?
Yeah, I think just one thing to sort of keep in mind, probably mentioned it like every single, subdivision, but sort of as you run through your concepts for what you might build there, I think, considering utilities, going overhead makes sense here, but sewer and water connections, like there's an existing curb cut on the lot. It's like it's hard after you subdivide and sell off a lot to get access for any underground utility or shared driveway stuff. And I know that it might not be a part of your plan, but as you talk with Public Works and see what's possible for that, just I think keep that in mind, that you have an opportunity here to think those through, and put them on those plat, if it's something that you think is really increases your development options of this. So I just wanted to make sure you're sort of thinking of that as you work with your surveyor and Public Works, and you're planning out your sewer and water connections, because that could be something that you might need down the road. So we're flagging that.
Great, thank you.
Other questions or concerns? Comments? I mean, I think, as usual, Meredith, you've done a very good job outlining what needs to happen if, if the
Pretty
final
straightforward.
application, yeah.
Yep.
When we'll take a look at it more formally, but it seems like it's all put together well and hits all the right notes.
To Mr. Goodwin's comment, would we put on the final application, the plat, kind of where we expect the driveway to be, and therefore talk to DPW about a curb cut and sewer and water access? Or
So it won't be on the plat. It's a good idea to talk to them and get a better idea of how things would fit, to put as theoreticals on your, maybe on your site plan.
Yep.
It's, the driveway, you want to have a sense of where that might be able to go, which you already do. I think it's also, Rob was leaning more towards the making sure you're not suddenly drawing a line where now suddenly you need an easement and you've already sold off the neighboring parcel.
Yep.
That's more his planning versus we don't want that on the plat because especially if there's a new parcel and there's options,
Yep.
we're not locking you into something. But if you need to have an easement for something and suddenly you're like, nope, a shared driveway actually makes more sense because of where I have to run the water and sewer, then that easement would be something that would show on the plat.
Understood. Sounds good.
So I think that's where Rob was going on that one.
Great.
And he's
Yep.
nodding. Okay, I'm just going to throw this in while I have James here. The Conservation Commission.
Yep.
I know that there's been some scheduling issues with that. As long as the written comments from them are back in my pocket before the final application hearing before the board, that's good. It doesn't have to be before you submit your final application.
Okay.
Because I know sometimes they have their meeting and then they take longer than they should for the written comments. So
Great.
just giving you a little, you can submit your application if you've got everything else you need before you have those.
Great. That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So, unless there are further comments, that wraps up the conversational part of the meeting here for site plan review. James, did you have something else you wanted to bring up under other business?
I did.
What is that?
So I live up on Frog Hollow, which is just off of Town Hill. And our parcel includes a lot was kind of attached to it that abuts Town Hill Road.
So there's the road off of Town Hill. That's where you're talking about?
There's a new, here, I pulled it up on the
Great.
screen. So here's Frog Hollow. Here's Frog Hollow Road. It's between Coolidge Street and
Oh, okay.
Terrace.
Yeah,
So-
I was going on the other side of the road.
Yeah,
but-
no, Frog Hollow going
Yeah,
down.
I get it.
So here's James's parcel
Yep.
here. And I think you're talking about this
That L
L
shape.
right here. So this is its own parcel. It looks like two because there's a little dash line here. That's it's
true.
that's not actually two anymore. I think that was a leftover tax line.
Yeah.
Is that second L parcel also included with yours, Jim?
That's
You
why
own
I
both of them?
mentioned it at the beginning. It's actually, they are contiguous, just at the teeny tiny corner. I
Yeah,
think there's
but-
like a 7-foot, but that upper L is a separate parcel that we acquired after.
Yeah. So it touches this,
Yeah.
and so that little thing, this little arrow here, just means that they're taxed under the same number, but they're separate parcels
Parcels.
legally. So this is the one that I've seen
Yes.
some potential stuff about developing and where there's some issues, right? Because the
Yeah.
only
Frontage.
frontage is on Town Hill Road, but the larger developable area is back here.
So our,
And, go ahead, James.
if I could, the other challenge is that there's a municipal sewer line that runs from the kind of top corner and then clips that top part of the L and then clips the bottom part of the L and runs all the way over to Grandview
Over here.
over there.
Oh,
So it kind of
okay.
goes across. So the lot is, the parcel is just shy of an acre. And what,
I'm going to stop sharing for just a second because I'm going to try and pull up a different layer.
Where does it, if it goes over to Grandview, which numbers houses is it
between,
between?
Give me just a second.
it's just north of the Forsyths. I don't know what numbers. I'd have to look at the computer. I don't have it in
Give
front
me
of
a
me.
second.
How many houses down from Town Hill?
And just so people know, this is a very informal
Oh,
conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is totally
Yeah,
informal.
it's that really long, large parcel that Meredith had clicked is the Forsyths, and they are right before the really, really large parcel
On the,
on the outside of the curve.
So the problem with this particular view is it doesn't show the parcel line that runs
Yep.
here next to
Right.
this house.
But we
Okay,
can
so
imagine
it's
that.
169 Town Hill Road. This one has not been updated with the parcel line. So there's now a parcel line here.
That
It goes
runs
from
down to
this
that corner.
corner all the way to Town Hill Road. Here's the sewer line that covers this corner
Okay, this
and then
is
hits
cool.
this corner and goes over and goes behind 245 Town Hill Road,
Wow.
so that's.
right? So that means that you can't build here really, because that's a sewer, like a sewer, if not a main, the next step down,
Yeah, that's.
right?
And
And
then
you
there are
can't build in this
setbacks.
corner, and there's setbacks.
Off of the sewer line.
Yep.
So what,
So town, Grandview is a loop.
yeah,
Yep.
With Spring Hollow at the bottom of that loop.
yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And this sewer line connects all the way to another line on Grandview. Right here.
So what was your question?
Yeah, so, okay, now I have a context. I happen to live there.
Oh, great,
so-
okay. We're neighbors.
So it appears so.
So what we would like to do, as you can see the arrow cursor, is do a subdivision there-ish, have a shared driveway that would allow for a developable lot here on the long part of the L somewhere. It's probably like here, and then also something here. But because of the
Setback.
setbacks and whatnot, it's, as I understand the regulations, it's a driveway if it serves 2 or fewer parcels. So we could do a shared driveway. But each lot is required to have frontage. And we wouldn't have frontage on Town Hill for this lot. We could make it a street, a shared street, private street, but then the setbacks would be from the street, which would further make it so that you couldn't have any buildable area on the lot. So the request that I would like the DRB to kind of be willing to consider, and I'm asking if you're even allowed to, is would you be allowed to grant a variance on the frontage piece? So this lot would get its frontage through a driveway agreement, a shared driveway agreement to Town Hill, which has 100 feet of frontage, and it would share, and all the utilities would go.
Rob, did you have a question?
Nope, not yet.
All right, sorry, I saw your hand up there. I wasn't sure what you were doing. Go ahead. So that's.
Or is there a different path? But it felt to me like that would be the easiest if the board's allowed to say, we'll waive that frontage requirement or allow the frontage to be granted through a shared driveway. Then it would allow the development to happen. But if we had to do it as a street,
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to speak to that without checking my regulations.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
It's-
I mean, that's.
Purely speculative question. If you were to put a duplex there, would the problem disappear?
Well, why don't you say about what you're thinking for density, and because that comes into this.
yeah. So we are developing projects that have duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes.
Well, it's going to be quite something for the town.
Yeah, that was going to be my question for you, Meredith, too, if it was a quad, what the.
Yeah,
how
so it's
changed it.
because of it's because of the number of units that it's looking more towards like a subdivision, right? Because because you had originally, you know,
We could
we've been
probably
playing
do-
back and forth
Right.
with stuff, because it's also, you know, once, if you have, you know, 2 triplexes, then you don't necessarily have to subdivide, because there's city water and sewer up there, and you can have, I think it was the 2 triplexes, wasn't it?
Yeah, that would
Yeah,
work.
because you can
it'd be
have,
6.
yeah, because you
Right.
can have up to 6 units now,
So-
irrespective of density.
As a cluster type of development?
No, no.
No, it's 2 structures, each with 3 units in it.
So it has to be like townhouses.
Right, so then you don't have to worry about the frontage requirement.
Yeah.
But if that makes it harder to sell stuff off, and, you know, if it's the subdivision where suddenly you need a road,
Right, you need to look at that.
right? And there's, you know, every parcel has to have frontage on a street, but then under our regulations, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, driveways are defined as those vehicle ways that are for accessing 2 or fewer parcels.
Parcels.
So it would be 2
Parcels,
or
it's
fewer
not
parcels.
units,
Yeah.
Not
even
units,
though,
right.
even though the
So-
V-Trans, like, access curb cut standards are based on number of units.
Density, right.
So we have some funky definitions. So there's, you know, there's maybe a possibility of some leeway because of those definitions, but the frontage requirement is really clear that new parcels are supposed to have at least a minimum amount of frontage. Even if there's a shared driveway, they're still supposed to have 20 feet of frontage.
And you can't get 20 feet of frontage for this there.
Yeah, it's, can you stop for a second? Because we got 2 cursors going.
Fancy.
You got, you know, 85. But you'd still have to have you'd have to have 2 parcel lines, right? So you'd
Right.
have to have this weird little 20-foot piece come here with the shared driveway that then, it gets really funky.
That would be weird.
Yeah, it'd be really weird. You're basically creating, you know, this is already almost a flag lot. You'd definitely be creating a flag lot
Right.
to do that, to get the frontage.
So I think we could technically do it and create the flag lot and have like a 20-foot strip that opened up to that, but
Seems weird.
it seems like a better alternative to say that there's a shared driveway that grants the access to Town Hill.
Yeah, but you had indicated earlier that if you do a shared driveway, that's for just 2 units.
Well,
2 parcels.
Two parcels.
2 parcels.
Right, so it would be 2 parcels,
would
which
be-
would then,
With
Be
with
problematic.
either single, duplex, or a triplex.
Each, as I understand it, each parcel's
we'll have a chart.
in the regulations is allowed to have 6 units on it.
Yes.
We would not be anticipating that much
Why not?
on either parcel, strictly because I don't think it could fit.
I guess that's a factor.
It would also be character of the neighborhood.
That wouldn't fall into play so much.
That-
The
the
subdivision,
new
because the
thing.
development, right, it's no longer conditional use. So the subdivision, how you carve up the land, this character of the area comes into play. But, unless, when it comes to actually what gets built down the road, because it's not a planned unit development, it may just be,
So it's
it
the
would
same-
come here for major site plan, but that's not character of the
I'd
area.
also say character of the area, there's a lot of really big houses over here, right? You can picture some of them actually having 4 units in
Oh,
them.
some of them, I mean,
You
I
know?
was some 25 years ago that are now 3-unit buildings.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I will say that even a 6-plex still has to adhere to the 2,500 square foot requirement in Res 9000 and the 35-foot height requirement. So you could have 6 very small units because the
And still
footprint-
have to have parking.
and still have to have because the footprint requirement in Res 9000 doesn't. You still have per building, like the 2,500 square feet. So
Yeah.
there, and to your point, there are ample houses all around there that are larger than 2,500 square foot.
2,500 square foot is just getting started, you know.
Right.
You mean for monster houses, or you mean?
There are big houses up there.
There's some.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess my sense of this is that the board would be interested in hearing what you're proposing, you know?
Okay.
But that's about all I could say right now, you know, without
Yeah.
thinking about it a whole lot more and looking at the regulations.
I can say if it's an informal discussion, have you seen the resources from the state for small-scale developers?
I have. Yep.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
anyway, that's probably helpful. so.
Yep.
Any comments from online?
I appreciate that conversation. Even that's just helpful for me to think
Yeah.
about it. So thank you.
It's helpful to know that you're looking at that.
Yeah, no, it's very,
And we need
very
housing.
helpful.
Of
I
all
appreciate
types.
that. I expect there'll be pushback on some of these projects.
Oh, there will be. I mean, there's no question about that. But if you've got a good project that meets all the criteria, you know, it'd be hard to say no.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much, James. I believe
Thank
your
you.
portion of the evening is over, and we're gonna go to reviewing the minutes of the previous meeting.
So long ago.
Which decade was that?
November 4, 2024.
This was the ceramic studio on Elm Street, did that happen?
I'm sorry. What?
Conditional use review.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I haven't noticed it.
Yep. I don't know. I haven't been over there to see if he's done it yet, but I mean, he has 2 years. So.
I thought we did that about 10 years ago.
No.
Oh,
This
on
Elm,
Elm
Street,
Street.
not
Elm
Berry
Street.
Street.
I was thinking Barry.
No, and that would have been 10 years ago. I've been here less than 7 years, so I was here for that one.
Like, I remember the meeting with Berry Street one.
yeah.
Well, we had COVID in there and a flood, so 7 years may feel more like 15.
It's, yeah, and the fun just amplifies itself over and over.
Uh,
Yeah, that's it.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Do we have, what's our upcoming meeting schedule looking like?
Yep, so we do have a meeting on the 17th. The link you used to pull meeting materials for tonight should still work. If you look under the next meeting, that application is up there. It is development involving slopes. And there's, they don't have the engineered foundation plans in there yet. If you read through their letter, they're actually asking for a initial conditional approval because they've got to run water and sewer and build a new driveway. And so they'd like the first round of
Where is this?
approval. It's up off of, it's up near bordering Hubbard Park. Bill Jolly's parcel.
We did that.
Remember when we did the boundary line adjustment for Bill Jolly? So this is that back parcel.
Okay.
And then the applicant, either the board could give conditional approval based on like DPW review, or just have him come back to the board before he can get building permit. So take a look, that's up
Yeah.
there, and I'll
Anything else?
update it. There is lots of stuff in the works.
Oh, yeah?
More other subdivisions, potentially some major site plans, potentially some demo of historic structures to put in new structures.
Just might try and make them.
There's
interesting.
all
the fun
sorts of stuff that I'm seeing like, hey, how do we do this? But it hasn't quite gotten to you yet. So hopefully I'll see all of it.
So, as far as volume is concerned, does this seem like an up year in terms of volume that's coming our way?
For a comeback?
So it's been a slow zoning year, fiscal year wise. It's been really good building permit wise. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff in the works. So, I mean, we haven't had board meetings because the actual things that need DRB applications have been slow. Even design review has been slow lately. I think we're finally seeing the pickup, where it's starting to get busy again. I think that the economy, people needing to do flood repairs, trying to figure out how to deal with, the realities of floodplain stuff. And now people doing research on the changes to Act 250 and finally, getting engineering done, surveys done so that they can move forward on potential projects. We're finally seeing some of that coming through.
Mhm, good.
Yeah.
The problem I had connecting to the download, other people had too?
No, I think you were the first one to try, and it was I think the link that I sent out in the first email wasn't correct for my having actually updated the materials. It was like a holdover link.
So it wasn't, I don't have to do anything on my end?
No, you don't have to do anything on your end. I think it was I think I sent a bad link in that first email.
Bad link.
Yep. Bad link.
Anything else from anybody?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Tag team today?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thanks for those online participating.